If something about this wood I'm cutting into looks a little off to you, well, that's because I found it floating along the shores of the Great Salt Lake back in the spring. It was pretty clearly a piece of lumber that had somehow made it from who knows where, a pier, a boat, some other piece of construction. No matter where it started, all I know is it eventually had made it into the saltiest lake in North America and had been swimming around in there long enough to get a thick, crusty coat of salt for its trouble. And it just felt right to me to turn this salt-encrusted plank into something that'll hold some flaky sea salt, called a salt cellar, a salt box, or a salt pig. No matter what you want to call it, feels like fate to make this thing hold salt. So I found this wood when I gathered the log that I used to make a vase for the fundraiser for the Great Salt Lake. You might have seen that video back in April. In that video, I talked a lot about my feelings about the lake and some of the threats it's facing. And unfortunately, it still remains at dangerously low levels. With more and more water being diverted and not making it into this terminal basin, the lake is under threat of collapse, which would threaten millions of migratory birds who rely on the lake and would eventually expose layers of toxic dust to be blown into surrounding cities. So as I said in that video, it's a crucial reminder of just how delicate and important our ecosystems are. So if you want to help, you can find resources here. And you can bet your bottom dollar I'm not done talking about this lake anytime soon. But for now, the good news is I'm discovering some absolutely lovely grain hiding under the salt here in this wood. It could be redwood lumber. It's hard for me to say for sure, though, what the species is, especially since the wood mostly smells like salt. And who knows where this thing came from in the first place. I like to think about that when I'm finding these salvaged pieces of wood. Where did this tree originally call home? When did it come down? What was this wood used for? How long did it do that job before it began its briny journey? And who could have guessed at any stage that it would have ended up on the lathe of some weirdo talking about it on the internet? Anyway, as you saw, I carved a foot, flipped the piece around and turned the sides to round, then carved a shallow bowl, added an oil finish to really let that grain pop. I mean, my goodness, look at this. Absolutely wild to think all that was just hiding under a bunch of salt. I especially love that I was able to keep a couple corners of that weathered exterior. So let's go ahead and bring some salt back to the equation here. And it's a perfect time to test this out because I just brought my juniper berry sourdough starter back to life, if you caught that video some time ago. And I'm pleased to report it's doing its job every bit as well as this salvaged saltwood salt cellar. 10 out of 10 would recommend.